Good morning. I'd like to welcome you up to, this is the committee on agriculture. It's Thursday, January 18th. And we wanted to have a little discussion with the regulators in regards to a bill that we passed here in the legislature, I don't know, a few years back, in regards to being farmers being allowed to take scraps from restaurants and where a hot lunch programs and take it to their farm to compost it, but they have to be a farmer to have that happen. Uh, and I had a complaint from up north in regards to a situation that I thought we ought to all hear about and maybe uh, discuss to some extent on the corrective actions. And Ed, Ed, are you able to hear us fine?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Yeah. Well, we'll introduce ourselves as committee members and then we'll get started. I want to start with you, Ed. So Brian.
Yeah, Brian Collmore representing the Rutland District.
Irene Renner, Chittenden North, which also includes Fairfax.
Brian Campion, Bennington County District.
We have Richie Westman, Senator Westman from Memorial County hasn't arrived yet, and none Bobby Starr from Fort County. So Ed, could you tell us a little bit about the situation that you called me in regards to? And we'll get started with that from you, and then we have folks here from the Ag Agency as well as A&R, and we'll hear from them. So if you'd like to get started, Ed, welcome.
Sure. Just as first of all, thank you for the invitation. Just to start, I'm a reporter with the Newport Daily Express, and I've been following a situation up here that is very difficult for people because it involves the use of food scraps in small farm operations. There's an organization that's has three names so far. I believe currently it's called the Bloom Farm, but it was also once known as the Northeast Kingdom Community Compost and then Community Waste Solutions. They haul food scraps. They have a customer list. They also have a small farm operation that has chickens and goats. Problem is they don't follow the law in that they are dumping food scraps on their small farm operation instead of disposing them at a certified composter. And they, over the course of the last year and a half, I believe, they have moved from Westmore, which was their operation was on town property, and the town realized they were dumping and got rid of them. They also were up in North Troy, and the health officer happened to also be a supervisor for the Northeast Kingdom Waste Management District, and he was able to get them to shut their operation down. They also operated in Lyndonville, and it was through zoning that they were able to get rid of them by imposing some pretty hefty fines. Now we have Charleston, and I see that Pat Austin is going to be testifying. He is the chair of the Charleston Select Board. They don't have some of those remedies. They do rely on Northeast Kingdom Waste Management District to enforce the law. Back in the summertime, the Agency of Natural Resources and the Department of Environmental Conservation had to decide who had jurisdiction over this. The Agency of Ag said that it's a DEC issue, and the DEC then worked with the Waste Management District to force compliance. The problem is that they keep ducking and dodging. They're hard to keep up with. The site's been inspected. They know that they have multiple and repeated violations. When they were hit with an audit, they immediately shut their company down and started another company, or company in another name. It's my understanding that they have to file quarterly reports with the Waste Management District, which, by the way, they haven't applied to be a food scrap hauler from them. So they're already in violation of that. They're required to file quarterly reports saying where they sold, who are the certified composters they sold the compost to, and how much tonnage did they sell. The problem is when you have a small farm operation, there's going to be a difference between what you picked up and what you sold, or sold, not sold. You actually have to pay for them to take it. Get that in reverse. The issue here is if you don't know how the size of the farm operation is, a small farm operation, you can't regulate how much tonnage of food scraps are dropping there unless there's a complaint, and then you go through this lengthy process to try to resolve it. And an idea that I thought might help the situation is if they're going to file these quarterly reports, require them to give their customer list, meaning who they're getting it from and how much. Then Waste Management District can say, oh, you took in X tons, but you only disposed of this, so the rest of it went to your food scrap farm. Yes. Well, that's an issue. What happens if they have 3 dozen chickens, but they're dropping a ton of food scraps off? What they're really doing is dumping it so they can collect the money from their customers, but not have to pay to dispose of it. This allows DEC and the Waste Management District the opportunity to be able to audit them and say, this is how much you're taking in, this is how much you're getting rid of. We can now tell you the amount that you are setting aside for your farm, and we can decide whether or not that's a reasonable amount. Without that, they're just guessing how much they're sending to their farm. And if you have that list of customers, it also gives you an opportunity to tell them, look, your food scrap hauler is dumping it illegally. We can't tell you to stop working with them, but we can put pressure on you to say, find somebody else who's complying with the law. Sometimes it's not just the law enforcement side of it that's effective. Sometimes it's that peer pressure. And the problem that arises out of this is these people are in Charleston. They've been dumping the food scraps in the woods off the side of the road. They don't live there. They have chickens and goats, and they dump so much food there that the place stinks up and down that road all summer long of rotting food. It attracts animals. Their dogs have gone down there and eaten some scraps and gotten sick. So there's some people out there are in a pretty bad way, and I think that what I'm offering is, I think, a useful tool to help monitor and resolve these types of situations. That's pretty much the basics of my testimony.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Are there any questions of Ed yet? Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you mentioned you're a reporter, Ed?
Yes, I am. That's
Have
why I
you-
got involved in this.
Okay, so have you put a story together that is in the newspaper up there or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've had a few. Yes.
Okay, so people are aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions? No, is Pat with us, Linda?
He is, he's not turned on his audio or video yet.
Pat, can you hear us? Pat?
He just lost him.
Oh,
Bad
No.
signal, Bobby. That's what it's like in the Northeast Kingdom.
Is that it? I don't know, so we lost Pat.
He'll come back on, we lost him once before.
Oh.
It might be when he turned on his video that. So maybe when he comes on, you can ask him to leave his video on and just do the audio.
That sounds good.
And that's what,
Can you hear us, Pat?
he's now muted. Oh, now he's unmuted.
I apologize. I keep losing the audio. I can see the video.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
so-
if you leave your screen off, maybe it'll give you enough boost, at least we can hear you. Well, did you hear Eddie's testimony, Pat?
I heard about probably half of it, 3/4 of it.
Yeah, well, you heard enough, right, Ed? So.
Yeah, yes, and Pat can correct any errors I make.
So Pat Austin's a select board member from Charleston. Pat, would you wanna tell us a little bit about what you folks have been through as a select board in regards to the situation at hand?
Yeah, so as Ed alluded to, this company's had multiple different names, multiple different towns. I actually sit on the Northeast Kingdom Solid Waste District Board, so I dealt with this company through the district in other towns before, ironically, they landed on a piece of property on the road I live on. This kind of goes way back to when the compost law for the requirement for solid waste haulers to collect it was being vetted out, put into play, and the legislators before the law, that part of the law had taken effect. I'd had conversations with Senator Bray and you, Mr. Starr, about the conversation was about there was plenty of capacity for solid waste haulers to dispose of food waste. And the Agency of Natural Resources used small chicken farms as capacity. And when you allow somebody that has a dozen chickens to accept food waste from anybody that's going to collect it, this is what happens. And so they don't comply with the state's requirements. They don't comply with the district's requirements. And that's what we've dealt with up till now as with the town. The town, I'm as close to recommending that we get out of the district as I ever have been because, I've reached out to them to enforce this, to get an injunction, to do something. And, they just tell me there's not a lot they can do. Their hands are tied. It was really, it was not really a comfortable situation to be on the district, board, the select board, and sit there and watch the Agency of Natural Resources and the Agency of Ag try to determine jurisdictional boundaries while these people were hauling tons of food waste in the middle of summer onto this piece of property. It's a small piece of property, sits beside a brook. They were dumping it right on the edge of the road. There was nothing that made any sense about it. They were saying that they were making dirt. I'd approached them about it. They said they were making compost. Nothing about what they were doing was a compost operation, and that was clear just from the road. But we had to wait quite a significant amount of time for them to vet out what the boundaries were going to be. To be honest with you, I was glad that DEC ended up with it because I think if Ag would have ended up with it, it probably would have just, turned into a small farm operation. I mean, the guy has chickens and goats there. The animal officer in our town, her hands are tied. From what I understand, the requirements for chickens, the standards are pretty low. You don't have to have a lot for them. I mean, I don't know how somebody can continue to operate like that and collect tonnage from viable businesses that are forced to comply with Act 148 to divert food waste. And nobody can enforce it either at the business level or where they're disposing it. I think about, I was in the solid waste business for 30 years, and you know, the state and districts apply a tax on trash, right? And so whenever there was any tonnage missing, that was easily tracked down. They were on it. They were auditing it. They wanted that money. Food waste and even recycling in some situations is not, it's not tracked the same way. It's not treated the same way. So these type of things tend to happen. I don't really know what the fix is because there's a lot of small farm operations that are doing the right thing, you know, that do utilize this material, you know. They go collect it themselves, bring it back to their place, and they actually are running a farm. But that's kind of what we've been dealing with. You guys have invited me in, so I don't know if you got any questions for me.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Any questions of Pat right now? No. Well, we do have DC with us and we have Ag with us. I don't know which one of you wants to go first, but what we'd like to find out is where you are in this whole situation, each agency and I guess at the end, somebody has to be in charge. And